Hello, Rutgers alumni, and welcome to Working Lunch, a career-oriented webinar series brought to you by Rutgers University Alumni Association and Rutgers University Foundation. My name is Colin von Liebtag, and I oversee Rutgers Alumni Career Services program. I hope you and your loved ones are all well during this uniquely challenging time. I thank you for sharing your time amidst what is undoubtedly a busy day for many of you. Today, we'll cover a topic that very suddenly has become a crucial area of concern for many, entering a period of economic recession. Unlike previous recessions, the specter of COVID-19 looms large over the global economy and job market, which we will certainly discuss as part of today's webinar. As a reminder, this webinar will be recorded and posted on the Rutgers University Alumni YouTube channel, along with other webinars in the Working Lunch series in the very near future. As a quick reminder, you can find more alumni career service information and resources at our newly redesigned website, ralumni.com/career resources. We've got a lot to cover, so let's get started. We'll begin by taking a look at overall trends that come with a recession in terms of industries and demographics that tend to be more negatively impacted, and those that typically weather the recession storm a bit better. While it's still early in the situation, we'll take a look at the initial impact of COVID-19 on industries, the job market, and hiring. Some of the COVID impact has been swift and abrupt, but there will also be lingering effects once the public health crisis is no longer so immediate. So we'll take a look at warning signs of organizational layoffs for companies that may be struggling and considering letting staff go, whether due to COVID-19, general recession, or otherwise. As an additional area of consideration, we'll review some basic best practices regarding financial management in times of recession, and also how to build recession resistance at your job through preparation and planning to either potentially avoid layoffs or at least smooth the transition between job opportunities. And then lastly, we'll go through an extensive list of resources to assist during times of hardship and recession, some of which are specifically geared towards helping during the COVID-19 crisis. For general background, as we frame our journey together here, the title of this webinar was very purposefully selected as Recession Resistance, not to be confused with recession proofing. There is no such thing as being completely recession proof. Most will feel the impact of recession to one degree or another, and depending on the length, cause, and societal response to a recession, the way we each experience it may also change over time. While some of the content discussed here highlights the staggering scale of COVID-19's initial impact and the challenges that even general recessions can historically bring, the information we cover will also be empowering and assist you in making informed assessments and decisions on job stability and associated financial security. It is my hope that broad knowledge and context, as well as specific understanding of useful resources and tools, empowers each of us to navigate what can sometimes feel like rough, murky waters with a lot more clarity and insight. So when we begin looking at overarching general recession trends in the job market, the following themes tend to emerge. Philosophically, companies avoid risk in uncertain times or economic downturns, which may lead to less expansion, less new initiatives, and overall less development. This in turn can lead to freezes on hiring, budgets, projects, promotions, etc. And in turn, a lack of creation of opportunities for new jobs. And as funding is typically held back or reallocated based on shifting organizational needs and priorities. However, this may also lead organizations to seek ways to streamline operations, increase efficiency, and reduce operating costs through strategic investments. This may result in personnel layoffs, but also an increase in technology, IT, and key infrastructure components that will replace those traditional staff roles. As part of these cost-saving measures, some companies will employ individuals in consulting, contract, or freelance roles, where a full-fledged benefits package and other employee costs are no longer part of the organizational budget. This also means that companies may invest more heavily in upgrades, repairs, and maintenance of existing equipment rather than new replacements. Like any coin, there are two sides to this depending on how you look at it. For some, this also will create opportunities. If some traditional roles are eliminated, then perhaps consulting work or freelancing becomes more of a viable option than a traditional 9 to 5 job for those who may be interested and available and have the requisite skill sets. Also, there is potentially opportunity for those who work in those areas, such as repairs, IT, tech, or with the ability to be part of the reinvestment in an organizational infrastructure. It's a matter of knowing where to look and seeing if you have the requisite skill set to flip the coin in your favor. Based on the last Great Recession of 2008, the most vulnerable populations were new college graduates, those near retirement, those who didn't graduate from college, individuals with specific skill sets that are limited to just a certain area, and those who are already unemployed. So let's take a deeper look at how each of these groups were impacted during the last recession and the corresponding recovery time. One of the unique impacts that individuals graduating in a recession experience is a loss of income, not just initially, but in growth of earnings over a period of post graduation time as well. This is indicated in the graph here, which is based on a longitudinal study of recent graduate experiences. The ramifications of this issue bleed into a more generalized disadvantage that can really take over a decade in some cases to balance out in terms of projected lifelong earnings and living up to those projections. Even 15 years out from graduation, some individuals experience wage losses from where they would have likely been had they not graduated in a recession period. While these effects may be felt more or less, are really going to be somewhat context specific. Obviously, it depends on support systems and many other factors that may or may not be in place. But for those negatively affected, there are obvious impacts on quality of life, living situations and housing, delayed marriage and family planning, dependency on existing family and external support, mental and emotional health, etc. Recent grads may also take lower paying jobs or jobs that are unrelated to their course of study or areas of interest, or ones requiring lower skill sets than what they really already have developed, all of which may only work to negatively enhance the wage effect felt for a period of time after graduation. Meanwhile, at the other end of the career spectrum, those closer to retirement disproportionately experience the negative impact of recessions in several ways as well. As seen in this graph, unemployed workers above the age of 55 have historically held a representative share of the long-term unemployed. However, this number grew greatly during the most recent recession, and immediate recovery starting around 2008. For the better part of a decade, approximately 50% or more of the long-term unemployed fell into this age demographic. Already being unemployed during a recession, when it is already increasingly difficult to find work, is only exacerbated by age discrimination, holding a skill set that may need some updating, and the prospect of a tight job market for where advanced stage career professionals may typically fall in the top portion of the organizational hierarchy. They may already be holding senior level positions, management level positions that either no longer exist or are much harder to fill because there's fewer of them, and they may already be looking for candidates who are a bit younger. In fact, during the last recession, the average number of weeks spent unemployed was 29 weeks. However, for those who were between the ages of 55 and 64, the average time spent unemployed was actually 1 full year. So senior professionals face the prospect of a uniquely long period without work, which complicates a very critical time in their lives. Even when employed, individuals in the advanced age demographic may be in essential need of health benefits. They may still be supporting children or families, getting ready to retire, or face a diminished retirement fund or home value based on declining market conditions. An overlapping challenge can also exist when recent grads entering the workforce in a recession still need support from parents in this age demographic as well. All of these factors can influence postponement of retirement or make the maintenance of an established minimum income all the more essential, which leads to more senior workers being particularly vulnerable in recession times. Based on data surrounding the 2008 recession, we see that men, those who did not graduate from college, and individuals with specific skill sets limited to a unique area were also particularly vulnerable. For males, they tend to historically be linked to many of the industries that suffered most during the recession, particularly financial services and construction related areas. They also tend to hold mid management level roles that were eliminated in favor of their support staff now reporting directly to senior management in a cost cutting move. College grads tend to fare significantly better than all non college grads, given increasing competition in the job market and the knowledge and skill set that a college degree affords its bearer. Well honed, proven, and a diverse range of skills provides more access to job opportunities and potential transitions between companies, industries, and even fields than those that may be highly specific or pertain to manual labor roles that aren't highly differentiated. This infographic provides some really great detail and some data points around the positive impact that a college degree can have during the recession. Here are a few brief highlights. Men lost 3 out of 4 jobs during the recession, but gained 4 out of 5 jobs during the post-recovery. Those with a bachelor's degree are more, so master's, PhD, additional training and education, actually gained 187,000 jobs during the recession and 2 million jobs during the recovery. During that same time frame, those with some college or an associate's degree lost 1.75 million jobs and only gained back 1.6 million. And those with a high school education or less lost 5.6 million jobs during the recession and lost another 230,000 in the recovery. This is due in part to technology automating jobs and jobs being outsourced overseas. More than half the jobs created during the recovery went to those with a bachelor's or higher in terms of their degrees. So, being an alumni from a world-class institution like Rutgers really gives you a uniquely competitive advantage even during recession times. In terms of at-risk vulnerable industries, the impact of the recession and industry responses, we see the gains were actually made in government, education, and health. Meanwhile, construction, business and financial services, and durable goods, and retail were especially hard hit. Notably, aspects of these industries coincide with the other at-risk demographics of being a male, non-college educated, and those with limiting professional skill sets, where the skills that they have may not match the jobs that are now going to be available during the economic recovery period. Overall, the industries negatively impacted by recession can be summarized as those considered non-essential and luxury, as cost-cutting, increasing efficiency, and streamlining operations. Whether in one's personal economy or in an organization's strategic priority, we see this to be true. Ways of doing business changed during the recession as businesses changed the way that they managed production, inventory, supply, and staffing. Essentially, customers and buyers now needed to really be in place already for production to start taking place due to tight credit and dropping sales, which impacts the infrastructure of many interrelated business systems. Let's take a closer look. Overall, the most at-risk industries carry the themes of either being non-essential or areas to improve efficiency of operations, including financial services. Think the real estate market. Real estate was perhaps the most obvious example from 2008. Construction and associated areas such as production of concrete, lumber, materials, and building supplies. Vacations and leisure travel impacted everything from airlines to hotels, restaurants, attractions, and transportation services, which all became non-essential. Belt-tightening in both personal and organizational economies led to a reduction in surplus expenditures related to office supplies and printing, so think Staples and Office Max. Publishing, especially print, with proliferation of technology usage. And as people spent more frugally, Home furnishings and vehicles such as motorcycles, boats, and new car purchases were deemed luxurious and non-essential. So these industries were significantly impacted during that last Great Recession. On the opposite end of the spectrum, the safer industries are just that, safer. Not necessarily completely recession proof as mentioned at the beginning, but generally perform much better and may have even seen some growth. As you might imagine, based on the at risk industries, the safer sectors provide essential products, services, or infrastructure. They also provide moderate, relatively affordable escapes and indulgences for people during what are otherwise stressful times. In terms of essential industries, they are consumer goods, so think toothpaste, toilet paper, soap, detergent, etc. Consumer staples and the businesses that also supply them, such as a Walmart. Healthcare, especially senior care for an increasingly aging population, nurses and physician assistants. And even more currently relevant examples around the COVID-19 situation may include jobs related to testing, tracking, and research. As they say, the only two sure things in life are death and taxes, and both actually make the safer industry list. Death services, it doesn't depend on the economy, or frankly much of anything. To show the relative stability of the federal government, in 2011, right as we were starting to bounce back from the Great Recession of 2008, USA Today reported that the retention rate of employees for federal government jobs was 99.43%, which pretty much says it all in terms of recession performance and job stability. With mandated school for children and the increasing value of a college education, teachers and professors, especially tenured ones, and teaching assistants found safer waters in the last recession. With a dampening of luxury and non-essential expenditures, the repair/maintain market tends to be safer in recessions as people and organizations work with existing equipment, building and goods and the kind of materials that are required tend to be things that might be more reused, recycled, versus purchasing or building something brand new. And the 3A's of finance help minimize risk and increase efficiency, which are always popular in recession times. They're accounting, auditing, and actuary. While some of these industries may require specialized skills and training, which also lends itself to why college grads tend to perform better in recession times, you can still look for transferable opportunities within these areas and these industries that are relatively ubiquitous across all industries. So think things like HR, IT, administration, sales. You'll typically find those roles in a lot of different industries and different sectors. So it might be a matter of marketing your transferable skills and switching industries in times of recession or finding new opportunities there as well. Syndustries, as they call it, provide a relatively safe escape in recession times as emotions run high and people will need outlets. So, syndustries are things like candy, cigarettes, alcohol, lipstick, actually. All of these industries performed well as people lean on vices that they have during times of stress and seek moderate indulgences. There is some nuance and variation here, though. So it is worth noting that, for example, beer and wine tend to perform better than hard liquor, probably due to the expense, and casinos typically suffer. So the type of vice does matter. Similarly, discount retailers such as Walmart, Target, Amazon, Marshalls, and TJ Maxx provide an opportunity for consumers to shop at more reasonable prices and become justifiable indulgences. Again, looking at transferable opportunities within these areas or supplemental income through secondary work in these industries provides an opportunity to survive even during recession times. This graph demonstrates the fastest growing jobs during the recession, covering a 10-year span. It holds consistent with the themes that we're seeing related to essential goods and services, healthcare, and technological efficiency. Turning from lessons learned from the last recession of 2008 to the more acute circumstances regarding COVID-19's current impact, it is still early yet. as we're obviously in the midst of a global pandemic and public health crisis. Many are still adjusting to ever-changing work circumstances and industry impact, but here are some initial trends worth noting. Projections indicate that we can expect about 3 million unemployment insurance claims by summer, which is really a historic increase. In New Jersey, in the week prior to the statewide shutdown, unemployment claims jumped by over 20% compared to this time last year. So far, the hardest hit areas are food service and the related gig economy, restaurants and food delivery, retail, hospitality, travel, transportation, and leisure, all of the areas that come with being considered non-essential businesses and also being industries that rely on physical consumer presence. This also translates to significant impact throughout the supply chain of many industries that typically produce or provide related services to these areas, whether in manufacturing, logistics, delivery, sales, or supply. For those businesses that haven't shut down, some workers are experiencing a significant reduction in hours worked. Some businesses have at least temporarily agreed to assist these workers, but not all can. This disproportionately impacts lower income, hourly service workers, who are also less likely to benefit from working remotely. Beyond lost income and wages, this also impacts other benefits of employment such as insurance, which is an absolute necessity during a public health crisis. This initial outlook is truly staggering, according to the Brookings Metropolitan Policy Program. When you add up the numbers, the gargantuan scale of the current problem emerges. More than 24.2 million Americans work in the 5 high-risk sectors, facing a sharp slowdown. This will likely prompt significant work disruptions, furloughs, and other uncertainties in the coming months. According to Brookings, we can see that the places most vulnerable to immediate short-term economic shocks from COVID-19 are geographically varied, but with common industry themes. But because the variations are driven by the nation's enormous leisure sector in particular, this map provides only an initial glance at which places are going to be most affected. In the event that the pandemic tips the economy into a significant nationwide recession, very few places or industries will emerge unscathed. And if that happens, other large sectors, including construction, manufacturing, retail, education, and even things like the motion picture industry, will be affected regardless of geography. It's also worth noting that 2 New Jersey locations are projected to be significantly impacted: Ocean City and Atlantic City, which perhaps has the doubly ominous factor of being both casino-centric and travel and leisure dependent. While the initial outlook is extremely bleak, let's turn our attention to some sources of assistance. If you or someone you know happens to be laid off or experiences a significant reduction in work hours, here is some important information about unemployment and underemployment benefits to assist you. When filing claims for unemployment, these are some key points for consideration to make sure your application is processed correctly and timely, which is all the more important at a critical time like this. Physical offices are closed, so all applications must be filed online, which was the fastest way to file anyway. Ensure your application is complete and it is for the correct program, as there are multiple programs to assist depending on your individual needs and situation. There are a high number of applications being filed, as the data shows us, so wait times will most likely be increased, so file as early as possible and make sure everything is complete and correct. While typically eligible for up to 26 weeks of unemployment benefits, if displaced from work through no fault of your own or you had those work hours reduced, there is also specific information regarding eligibility in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic at the link indicated here at the bottom of the slide. Some positive news: there are industries and employers still hiring during the COVID-19 crisis, and many of them align with typically safer fields during times of recession as well. Uh, we have a comprehensive COVID-19 job market guide that I'm referencing here. It was put together by Austin, and Austin Belkak. He put this guide together at the link that's provided there under the title. It's essentially one-stop shopping for job market insights pertaining to the COVID-19 situation. It includes information on industries and companies that are hiring, as well as free advice on job search strategies and resources to assist. The main groupings of industries involve companies that provide essential products and services such as food service, healthcare, cleaning, and sanitization, as well as those that support the current methods of interaction that we're all experiencing with work and socialization, commerce, and business operations through online communication, education, and digital entertainment. These are some sample examples, some examples of specific employers who are hiring right now. Amazon has stated that they are open to hiring displaced restaurant and bar workers. Both Amazon and Walmart have announced their intention to hire over 100,000 employees each to meet the demand for online purchases and deliveries. Many companies are also expediting the hiring process and moving quickly to put workers in place, in some cases as soon as 24 hours after applications. To ramp up quickly, the retailer said that, this referring to Walmart, that they were speeding up the hiring process. Normally it takes 2 weeks, but they were trying to shoot for that 24-hour turnaround time. While it's absolutely critical to have a job when needed, it's important to temper long-term expectations as well, as some roles may be considered a stopgap to meet current demand with the expectation that some workers will return back to positions that previously let them go due to the temporary crisis. However, other roles may actually be permanent placement or convert to permanent roles. So just keep the expectations in mind as to the kind of job opportunity that you might ultimately align yourself with should you go for these kinds of opportunities during COVID-19 hiring. Also worth noting, some roles may be more regionally specific due to employer locations. Here are some other industries as well as specific employers that have announced that they're still hiring during COVID-19. To see a comprehensive list of employers hiring specifically during this crisis, check out the link provided here by the state of New Jersey, and these are going to be legitimate opportunities. It also lists the companies, the locations, types of positions, the shifts available, your salary and wages that might be available, as well as whatever kind of requirements they might have for those roles. So if you're looking for job opportunities, this is definitely worth checking out. Recessions can have lasting impacts and take time to show more significant economic recovery. So perhaps, even if you're still working at an organization, but maybe you're concerned about whether or not there really is stability there or instability that's going to lead to layoffs. Here are some signs to watch out for and indicators that can be of warning for potentially rocky times ahead. Freezes may start to occur on hiring, spending, on everything from supplies to lunches, freezes on business travel, pay increases, and bonuses. So that's certainly one thing to be mindful of. Previously scheduled projects may abruptly be put on hold indefinitely. There may also be a generally reduced workload, and long-term planning may grind to a halt. Some positions or operational functions may also start to be outsourced. Management may seem to be avoiding contact or be more inaccessible than normal, or occupied in closed-door meetings for significant portions of the day, whereas before they may have, pretty much been accessible. Management may also ask for something like a self-detailed job description or a list of current projects or the current contacts and clients that you're working with. Management may be spending a lot more time with HR, especially in closed door meetings, and hence the inaccessible nature. Management itself may be leaving. You may see changes at the top, or they may be taking some preemptive steps, such as updating their own LinkedIn profiles. So you may see some significant leadership changes occurring from the top down. Additional warning signs of possible layoffs include a recent merger or acquisition, as reporting lines and hierarchy may be streamlined while redundant positions are eliminated. Organizational consultants may be brought in and seeking new ways to improve efficiency and implement restructuring plans. A few more kind of overt but straightforward signs of possible pink slips coming could also include working in a quote unquote dying industry, maybe something such as print media. The company may be missing revenue targets, having poor financial performance, or had a poor IPO. Or there could just be other general negative market indications shown through poor stock performance. There may have already been a first round of layoffs, which is a sure sign that there may also be more rounds to come. Suddenly, there may be an increase in moving boxes, tissues, and security throughout the office, which is utilized to accommodate employee transition. And then lastly, companies are required by law to file something called WARN notices with the state when they will be conducting mass layoffs. So a recent example of this would be Toys R Us. You can find company filings and the criteria used for the filings at the link here. And just as something worth considering, while staying at an organization and surviving layoffs really does sound like the best case scenario, it can also generate some residual feelings of guilt, depression, anxiety, about maybe a potential lack of overall job security. It may come with an increased workload, less trust, and a higher level of voluntary turnover from coworkers and colleagues. So, depending on how you kind of frame the experience, moving on may provide an opportunity for something else that you've longed to do or long looked to do. And you may avoid actual challenging circumstances from missing the cut, so to speak, on the layoffs. Another important part of surviving recessions and building resistance is smart financial planning and practice. And while I'm not claiming to be a financial expert, here are some commonly accepted best practices and considerations to assist with general financial preparedness, especially during recession times. According to the Federal Reserve, 40% of Americans would struggle to come up with $400 for an unexpected expense. Typically, these individuals would need to use a credit card or incur debt to cover the expense, or borrow from a friend or family member. And then when you think about this in the context of recession and a true financial crisis hitting, it would leave a really significant portion of people just reeling. One of the first places to start in terms of financial preparedness is with maintaining a positive mindset and keeping perspective that will enable you to accurately evaluate your situation, make helpful decisions, and be strategic. Recessions are natural. They pass eventually and are beyond our individual control. It's much more helpful and productive to focus on the individual locus of control, or the things that we can actually shape and influence ourselves. One such thing may be within your control to some extent at least, is to create as much financial breathing room as you possibly can before the hard times come, especially in terms of paying off debt, and even better yet, debt with high interest such as credit cards. There's something called the debt snowball approach, which supports making minimum payments for some debts while focusing on one thing at a time so as not to spread yourself too thin. So basically, you list out your debts in order from the smallest balance to the largest, and then you start to tackle them in that kind of order, making some differentiation between debts that may carry a higher interest rate or balance as well. So that way, paying down those smaller debts first gives you some momentum to paying down larger debts. It encourages positive financial practice, and continuing with it, you start to actually see progress. It also frees up monthly income and cuts from the long-term expenses, and potentially frees up lines of credit in an emergency. It also is going to help to ensure a credit rating that can stay more positive, and then your monthly income will not necessarily need to go towards paying down debt should times get harder during recession. Building an emergency fund or personal insurance fund is always an ultimate goal to achieve. Many financial experts ideally recommend 3 to 6 months of living expenses, but it may be more reasonable to have at least $1,000 or so, or 1 month of living expenses on hand, But whatever your goal is, try to have something set aside for that rainy day. And simply monitoring spending on big purchases, vacations, and day to day expenses alike can really help us to determine what's an absolute necessity and where can we maybe free up some money for that emergency fund or to pay some of that debt down prior to full-fledged recession impact. This may include, at least temporarily, redirecting current savings even from long-term investments such as college savings or retirement based on your long-term versus your short-term necessity, at least as possible. Maintaining accessible cash liquidity can be better than selling off stocks or other assets during volatile economic times. High yield online bank accounts may offer some savings and provide some additional incentive as well, so that might be something else to consider. Taking stock of your current financial situation may involve making two different budgets: a regular budget and then a stripped down kind of doomsday budget to meet essential expenses on a potentially reduced income during recession times. It's important to continue to invest something in your retirement, even if it's not the usual amount. Again, remember, recessions are temporary and markets eventually do rebound. However, if closer to retirement, it may be necessary to make some different kinds of adjustments to provide more relative stability in retirement. And so at that point, it certainly is worth consulting a financial planning expert. There are a lot of different apps and forms of technology now, things like Swag Bucks or Drop or Rakuten, where you can free up or create some additional disposable income by having some incentivization to save money, get rewards or cash back on things. So that always comes at a timely period. In addition, look at potential side hustles that can provide multiple streams of income. And that can be obtained through gig work, through freelancing, consulting, depending on what your areas of interest are, your skills, and your expertise. It's always better, if possible, to have multiple streams of income that are not contingent upon each other, just in case the recession does hit one kind of area or industry particularly hard. And lastly, just as you would maintain your physical health, seeking financial help from a credit counseling agency or financial planner, or possibly even someone in the mental health field, can assist with the anxiety that's brought on by the recession or recession induced circumstances. So now that we've covered some of the basic financial considerations, let's take a look at preparing professionally for your career management during recession times. Based on what we've discussed, at-risk industries, demographics, organizational warning signs, and of course, considering your own individual circumstances, you can begin to assess your current situation and implement some measures to enhance your recession preparedness. It's always wise to begin with an evaluation of your current circumstances, and this can often include assessing the relevancy of your current skill set as it pertains to both your company and the individual industry that you're a part of as a whole. Ideally, skills should be continually updated as you go throughout your career life, but it is all the more vital to have a relevant, demonstrable skill set for the field when you're entering a job search or trying to keep the current job that you have at your organization. It's also important to invest in your personal brand both at work and more broadly. Does your current employer or the world at large know the value that you bring to the table? One place to start is by updating your resume and LinkedIn profile. Which key projects were you a part of, or positive results did you have since you last updated your resume? Have you completed any related trainings or professional development? Updating the resume certainly serves a practical function should you need it in a job search, but the resume is also a representation of your professional identity. By making sure that it's current and an accurate representation of who you are professionally, you can ensure that you are always able to demonstrate your value, as it helps to develop talking points and serve as a reminder of your main career highlights. Organizationally, you can specify this value to your current role within the company and through performance appraisals and contact with your supervisor. More broadly, How are you communicating your relevancy to the field as a potential job seeker on LinkedIn or through networking opportunities? Speaking of which, always network, which is often harder when unemployed because of the stigma of unemployment and avoidance of answering that dreaded question, so what is it that you do? The value, though, is in having a network that's already in existence when you need it. Then you can tap into it. Remember, a network is a group of relationships. Relationships take time to build. To this end, networks should be established and maintained on a consistent basis, well before a job search occurs. It's beneficial to network even internally at your current company so people know who you are and what you do. Networks are about having relationships where others already know the value that you represent. And these relationships pay important dividends too. Consistently, up to 80% of job opportunities are landed through one's network. Having easy access by quickly tapping into an existing network for the job search can make all the difference in a tight job market during recession times. Another way of looking at this is slightly more from the company's perspective. What is your professional return on investment or ROI at the organization? During times of economic hardship, your employer may look at the total cost of employing you, salary, benefits, etc., and compare it with your output. Uniqueness at the company, are you the only one who can do your job? And your overall measurable impact. If they can't validate that your individual productivity levels make or save the company enough money to cover the cost of employing you, then you may be at risk of being on the layoff list. Look at the employer as a client that you provide services to, and consider how you can show the necessary value that you bring to this relationship. Let's take a look at how you can start to determine some of this and then actually prepare. Conducting a salary assessment helps you to know the typical market rate for your role, which is helpful should you need to search for jobs, but also to determine if you may be in a role that could be deemed expendable by an organization for cost cutting measures. The sites listed here, PESA, Salary, and PayScale, are salary research websites that will help you fill out a comprehensive profile to give you an accurate range of the going salary for the roles that you're interested in researching. You may also consider developing a personal business plan. Map out the goals for your job and ensure that there is alignment with the overall organizational goals. As much as possible, try to tie your goals to direct impact. For example, how does your work increase revenue, sales, customer satisfaction? Things that are tangible, can be quantified, are easily identifiable, and matter most to the company. So, include trackable metrics in your plan. Find ways to share at appropriate intervals with management so that they can see the value that you bring to your work and why you are uniquely situated to be part of the company. In the event that you are laid off, this exercise will still prove helpful in building your resume and cover letter development and also in interviews. Next, always find time and ways to invest in yourself and your career. Professional development is essential, or upskilling as they may call it, to stay competitive. Career planning and management in recession is about more than a job. It's about showing you have the skills to be relevant and marketable. Professional development can be an internal training that was offered at the company, a certification or license, college coursework, online education, continuing education courses, learning a new language, or even a full-fledged new degree. See what is most relevant for your field and the roles that you have currently or are interested in having. Prior to a recession, and certainly during one, it is absolutely essential to be proactive in your career management. In short, being able to demonstrate the unique value you bring and the benefits you provide to your company helps to generate positive interest in you as an employee. Whether this value statement is delivered through a professional summary on your resume, LinkedIn profile, elevator pitch, interview response, or through a recent performance appraisal, it helps you to either increase your presence, marketability, and brand, either internally at your existing company or externally in the search for a new role. Both really do hold significant value during tight recession times. If the writing is on the wall and it seems that you'll ultimately be displaced from your job, Securing these following items here before you leave can be helpful and beneficial during your search for the next great opportunity. Having references from coworkers, superiors, and direct reports alike in writing are signs of support and may also come in handy if requested during interviews. You may also considering asking for endorsements or recommendations to be written on LinkedIn and adding these individuals as contacts there. Accessing your past performance evaluations can provide a good list of your major achievements and accomplishments to help with cover letter, resume, LinkedIn, elevator pitches, and interview prep, all the essential tools of the job search. Communications from clients or customers expressing positive feedback provide qualitative testimonials and can assist with developing great content for interview responses when asked to detail your previous successes. Lastly, your job description helps you clearly identify the relevant skills and experience needed for your role, as well as providing professional language and keywords and phrases that will help your resume get through applicant tracking systems, HR, and directly to hiring managers. Let's take a look at some resources now that are available for you. So, recessions, especially the turbulent times we're experiencing in light of COVID-19, goes beyond just our jobs because our work impacts so many other aspects of our lives. Instability with work can create a more generalized instability in life. So, here are some resources to assist multiple areas that may be impacted by a COVID-19 induced recession or even a general recession. So, just be aware that some of the resources here, and they're labeled, are going to be more specific to the COVID-19 impact and response, and some are going to be more kind of ongoing resources. We'll start with New Jersey-based resources and information from the state. Remember, we will be sharing this webinar on the YouTube channel very soon, so please do look for it there, but you can also find that and a number of other resources listed on our newly redesigned ralumni.com/career resources website. Through the links here in this particular slide, you can access all that you're going to need to know about filing unemployment claims, your eligibility, the types of claims to file, and also if you're out of work due to childcare, how will the COVID-19 impact play out for you in terms of benefits and things that you might be able to request in terms of assistance from the state. So check out the site here. The Q&A section is particularly helpful. You can find out much more there. NJ.com put together a really wonderful survival guide full of resources and information to assist at the link that's provided here as well. We'll talk about much of what they covered in the next few slides as well. So Governor Murphy signed a bill that gave him the authority to place a moratorium on evictions of homeowners amidst foreclosure proceedings, and he signed an executive order to immediately suspend these kinds of actions. So that order would remain in effect for no longer than 2 months following the end of the state of emergency that was declared by Governor Murphy. Rental evictions, like foreclosures, are also on hold in New Jersey for the same time period. So should you need assistance with these kind of measures, again, consult the state website that's been provided and the newjersey.com website as well. You can find out further information. Major power companies said that they'll keep on gas and electric services for residential customers who don't pay their bills during the coronavirus outbreak. PSE&G made the announcement that this was in the interest of protecting public health. JCP&L decided to suspend service shutoffs for past due customers. Atlantic City Electric issued a statement suspending service disconnections. So if you need assistance with energy, so you can actually access the nj.gov energy assistance programs that are available through the website that's indicated here. If you're concerned about food supply, there are standing resources and sources of assistance available. You can find a list of local food pantries and the 2 links listed here at the bottom, and also just general food assistance information through NJ SNAP. The U.S. Department of Education has suspended payments on federal loans while setting interest rates of these loans to zero during the national state of emergency. The Secretary of Education directed all federal student loan service providers to give administrative forbearance to any federal loan borrower who requests one. It will be in effect for at least a period of 60 days beginning on March 13th. To make the request, contact your loan servicer. The department also authorized an automatic suspension of payments for any borrower who is more than 31 days delinquent or becomes more than 31 days delinquent as of March 13th. In terms of state assistance, the New Jersey Higher Education Student Assistance Authority will offer assistance to those who need help making regular payments to their New Jersey class student loans due to a diminished income. The HESAA website said that those affected by coronavirus can apply for New Jersey class loan relief for temporary disability or unemployment, and the links to those applications are provided here in the slide. Unfortunately, times of crisis can also bring out the worst in opportunists and scammers, preying on the desperation of others. So beware of employment scams. You should never pay a fee to receive a job. Watch out for check-related scams that want to use your bank account to deposit money for them. Never share your credit card or bank account information. You can read about these kind of scams and more at the link provided there, that first link. And again, for a comprehensive list of legitimate job opportunities and companies that are hiring during the COVID crisis, use that nj.gov link at the bottom there. In terms of some additional resources, the car website Edmunds compiled a list of car manufacturers who may be providing car payment relief during the COVID crisis. So check out the link to see if anything applies to you or your vehicle payments to provide some temporary financial relief as needed. And then, as I'm sure many, if not most of you already know, the federal government moved the tax filing deadline to July 15th. So you can find out more information on tax season and how to get COVID-19 related tax relief through their irs.gov website. Now let's take a look at free resources that are exclusively for Rutgers alumni and brought to you by the Rutgers University Alumni Association and Rutgers University Foundation to help assist you with the job search, networking, and staying connected to community during these challenging times. First, Student Alumni Career Connect is a networking and mentoring platform that is designed exclusively for Rutgers students and alumni. As alumni, you have the benefit of networking with other Rutgers graduates from all academic backgrounds and industries. And you also have the option to provide assistance to students in the form of flash mentoring or answering questions the students may have about companies, majors, industries, etc. The sign-up process is very quick, and you can set all of your preferences up in terms of how you would like to engage. So check out the websites here, certainly listed on our career resources webpage through our alumni, but also the direct link is rutgers.peoplegrove.com. CareerShift assists job seekers with searches and networking in the following ways. You can search, store, and record job listings from multiple job boards in one search. Then get inside contact information immediately, including email addresses from millions of companies. You can also access in-depth information about contacts at organizations, including Rutgers alumni working at those companies, available jobs, and then actually record your history of correspondence with them as well. You can create personal marketing campaigns, including unlimited resumes and cover letters, and then save them on the platform to access print or email at any time. And this is a resource made available for free to Rutgers alumni by the Rutgers University Alumni Association. So all you have to do to gain access is fill out a brief request form through the ouralumni.com website. You also, through the RUAA, have free access to a Grammarly Premium account. So this would be for a 3-month period, and a Grammarly Premium account is going to help you to access critical grammar and spelling checks, advanced checks for punctuation, context, sentence structure, vocabulary enhancement, all kinds of wonderful grammatical kinds of forms of assistance. And you can use the Grammarly premium account that you set up to assist with resume, cover letter, or personal statement preparation if you're thinking about applying to graduate school. And remember, over 60% of resumes contain at least one typo, and around 40% of hiring managers discard resumes with a typo. So this is a really helpful resource to make sure that you're getting your applications viewed accordingly. You can gain access to Grammarly Premium by filling out a brief request form again through the ralumni.com website. Rutgers Handshake is a career management platform that houses various resources and tools to assist alumni and students with many career needs. Two of the most helpful resources are the job board, which is used by employers to post opportunities, and something called Interview Stream. Interview Stream is built into this Handshake system, and it's going to allow you to rehearse interview questions online in a mock interview, and then develop stronger interviewing skills as you start to review your performance. You can select from thousands of sample interview questions and review your performance online, either individually or even if you make an appointment with a career advisor, you can look at it that way too. It's helpful to see your body language, the content of your responses. Are you saying a lot or talking too much with your hands? It helps to become more self-aware of our interview-related behaviors, the quality of our answers, and also to simply get accustomed to verbalizing our interview responses out loud. So you can access Interview Stream from your individual campus career service centers. Contact them either directly or go to ralumni.com/career resources for more information. And this is a list of resources used to compile the program and webinar that we set forth today. So a lot of research went into this, as you can see. Just a reminder, this was the first part of our recession webinar series. Part 2 will be held in April and cover the following topics to help you prepare for recession time and your career management. We'll look at recession prep for your resume, developing a strong career strategic plan, different tools and resources to assist in the job search, various kind of career transition considerations to keep in mind. And please, as always, check our website, social media, and your inbox for more information on part 2 of the webinar. I want to thank you so much for joining us for this working lunch. Special thank you to all the Rutgers alumni, to the Rutgers University Alumni Association, and Rutgers University Foundation. Please continue to be safe, happy, and well. Take good care of yourselves and each other. Until next time.